Okay.
All right.
Cool.
All right. So we are live now, and this is rlmradio.xyz, reallibertymedia.com. And today is Indian Wars, Lessons from a Lakota Woman. And that's going to kick off in an hour. And right now we have Jimmy from 9/11 Conspiracy Theories Are an Inside Job. We're going to kick that off in a half an hour. Lacey, my friend, she's a writer, and she's going to come on, and we're going to talk about some hog farming here in Arkansas and possible pollution to the Buffalo River, the first American scenic river in America, by the way. So we are recording, and we are live. And welcome, Jimmy. We'll just jump right off into this. You
Sure.
and I have been Facebook friends for a while now, and we might hold a little bit differing views. So let's talk about it. First of all, let me ask you. First, let me say that I think it's quite clever. Your title. Hold on a second.
Okay, cool.
Hold on a minute. Go ahead, buddy. She was here just a while ago. But we're live on the radio.
Okay, so do you want me to wait, or can I respond?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I got interrupted. I'm sorry, Jimmy. Okay, yes. So quite clever, the title for your page there on Facebook. 9/11 Conspiracies Are an Inside Job. So
Thanks.
why don't you outline that, actually, and tell me what you mean by that?
Sure. So it's a group. It's not a page. And the name of the group means that many of the 9/11 truthers are actually they're working from within the USA. They may not be Americans, all of them. Some of them are actually from other countries, like for example, one woman who is not so much active anymore, but she was from Pakistan, and she had done a very popular truther video that was like a documentary that was very popular for a while, but then she has disappeared now, and she was also working from the inside. But you also have like Alex Jones and many other conspiracy theorists that are like the leaders of this movement, and they are from within the US. So I'm trying to say with the title of the group that many of these theories comes from within.
Certainly, yeah. So, yeah, theories and facts, of course, are different.
Yeah.
You're from Sweden, just so the folks know where you're from.
For sure.
Yeah. Now, what would you contend then? Let's clarify this. So on 9/11, of course, there was a great destruction. 2 towers fell. Later that evening, Building 7 fell. And so those that would suppose this to be conspiracy fact would claim that the buildings fell at free fall speed, excuse me, indicating that there was an implosion and it wasn't a collapse. How would you respond to that?
Yes, just to be clear, did you say WTC 7 or all 3 towers?
Let's start with Building 7.
Okay. Well, Building 7 is the one that you have the least information about. So that's not like an easy task to like give a definitive answer about, because we simply lack information about it. Enough information to say definitively that okay, it was this and that led to the collapse of it. But one thing that is important to remember is that the building did not free fall for its entire fall. It free fell for 8 stories of its 47 stories. And that equals 2.25 seconds.
It's close enough to free fall speed. Well, considering you would have some resistance along the way to total collapse, but when you look at it, it's close enough to free fall speed that that's not out of bounds to claim.
Yeah, but
It would
the
not.
thing is,
There's no way that office fires would cause that building to collapse. Can you agree, or if you do disagree, would you support that?
yeah, I mean, you're saying that it's no way, that there's no way for it to fall that fast. But I mean, there are experts. There are experts that know about demolitions. They know about constructions, and there are firefighters that were there at the time and also afterwards that said this could happen. And there were people seeing this. There were some that saw it that said, "Oh, it sounded like it was like explosions." They could say. So, and others said that it was very quiet compared to what they would expect. So you have both kinds of opinions. But apart from that, I want to continue. I mean, the reasons why I don't think there's a demolition of this building is that there were no audible sounds of explosives. If you watch the videos, you have at least two videos.
Disagree. Strongly
Okay,
disagree.
Sure. But let me just say what makes me say that this was not a demolition. So you disagree about that, but I have heard two videos. There are two videos at least with the sound, and you can hear nothing. That sounds like explosions. That's number one. The second thing that makes me think that this was not a demolition is that you have nothing, as far as I know, that shows you anything or any matter or anything. I mean, anything physical that shows that this was a demolition. Nothing.
Okay. We have in chat asking who you are, Jimmy. Pronounce your last name, please.
Quaresmini.
Quaresmini.
From Italy.
So Italiano.
Yeah, my last name is from Italy because my grandfather came from there.
Okay, and you were born in Sweden?
Yeah.
Do you say, sure, you betcha?
Say that again.
I was poking a little fun. I say, do you say, sure, you betcha? Yeah.
Not like the Germans, but yeah, we have a funny accent for sure. So I'm sure you're going to have a lot of fun with the accents.
Yeah. Hey, we are worldwide, by the way. So right here at reallibertymedia.com. This is rlmradio.xyz. So, and we're discussing 9/11 conspiracy theories being an inside job, as opposed to, of course, 9/11 being an inside job.
Yes.
A lot of discussion, and I am in chat right now here at the RLM Radio and chat page. And you're welcome to join in, and you can sign in if you'd like, or come in anonymous. And those listening downstream, come on back. So Frumpy's in here, and very good point. Architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth says over 1,000 architects and engineers say that it was demolished.
Yeah, but if you look at the page, you have to scrutinize who signed that page, or who were the signatories. Many of those that signed it were actually not engineers, and they were not architects. Many of them were people who agreed with this contention, and they signed it. But they were maybe computer engineers and other stuff. So they are not all people that you would go to ask about these kinds of questions, but they don't have to be wrong because of that. But I mean, if you look at the facts in the case, I mean, you could say that there's an open chance that there could have been a demolition, but I have not seen proofs that it was. And what NIST said, goes well with what I can see for myself. I mean, they said that, for example, column 79 fell first. They say that. And I had not looked at the floor plan before some year ago or something like that. But when I saw the floor plan, and I saw that the column 79 is right beneath the east penthouse. And the first thing to fall in the collapse was the east penthouse. You can see that for yourself. That collapses first. Then there's a pause, sort of. And then you can see the whole building come down.
Disintegrate. I would say better descriptive coming down. It
disintegrated.
It collapsed into its own. It collapsed into its own footprint. But both buildings, as well as Building 7, and we've not made mention of all the other destruction and absence of material within other buildings. There's a lot to speak of as far as conspiracy goes, but my point today is not to establish that there was conspiracy on 9/11, but to let you make statement to the fact that it was not an inside job. So for me, I feel like it's very important that we look at as much as we can that is outside our comfort zone, that conflicts with our own opinion and perception. So cool. I think it's very important to have you on today. Some people are calling you here in chat gatekeeper. I personally, I feel that your opinion has validity and it should be examined. So that's why we spoke in times past. I don't agree with your rules on your group over there.
I know that.
You exclude certain opinion, which for me is outside my bounds of exploration.
Yeah, of course, but you lean towards that theory. Yeah,
absolutely.
But I don't. Because, sorry.
Yeah, we all have our own bias, certainly.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, what I'm trying to do, both with the page or the group and also a page I have, is to try and free myself from my bias as much as I can and try to go for the real truth as much as possible. I try to let go of whatever bias I may have and go for the truth 100%. Yeah. But I also, one of the things also with the group, besides being absolutely truthful, is that I want to take a stance against some things, like two things maybe.
Okay.
And those things are, number one, to go against Alex Jones, for example, and some other people. And actually, one time when I posted a real sort of abusive comment about him, it was like a ridicule of him, totally sawed him by the foot, so to speak. I mean, I totally made him look like a fool, talked a lot of bad stuff about him. After that, his account tried to join the group. So now his account is in the group. His official Facebook account is in the group. But that's one fun thing about this. So he's one of the people I want to protest, because he tries to deceive people all the time. So I feel that, for example, he liked Donald Trump, and Donald Trump won the election. So I feel that's a good indicator that Trump is not a good person, that Alex Jones support him. But apart from... Sorry, can I continue? Do you want to say something?
Let me interrupt you. I'm sorry. Yeah, you won't find any, I don't guess any, if any, AJ supporters here, but and as well, most listeners, regular listeners, that is, are neither for Trump nor Hillary.
All right. Well, the second thing that I'm against is, of course, anti-Semitism, because before I made my group, I had been talking to many truthers in both another debunker group, but also some truther groups and other pages in other arenas also. So I had seen like the prevalence, or whatever you call it in English, where of different anti-Semitic theories and just general anti-Semitism. I mean, if you look at some truther groups, it's just rife with different anti-Semitic posts and theories flying around. And some say, okay, we're not anti-Semitic, we just hate Israel. Or some say, oh, we don't hate Jews who hate people who are who support Israel or something like that. So
All right, well, let me speak to that.
Yeah, but I just want to say that some of these things are for me, they feel anti-Semitic if they are not based in actual facts. So therefore, I want to protest them unless there is something that one can prove.
All right. Give me a moment to address that. First of all,
yes.
The so-called anti-Semites, I don't think that they're anti-Semitic as much as they are anti-Zionist. I mean, supposedly these Jews left white or black, and came back white. We can trace the conversion of the Khazarians and their return to Israel and a claim of God's chosen people. I mean, people around the world were outraged at the apartheid in South Africa, and those same people support the Zionist Israel.
Right. So, some do, not all of them.
Okay, so I guess I'm going off a little bit off topic here. Judge Dredd, or Vote Harder, as he's in chat now, wants to know how this is tied into 9/11. Because I'll respond to that. The so-called, I just hate these names, but truther movement, whatever, 9/11 conspiracy theorists, and so on. Most people are tying Israel in, and Saudi Arabia as their lapdogs, or pseudo-Jews. I mean, there are all these names, and I really hate to get bound down in these taglines, but this is the narrative by what most would call so-called truthers or 9/11 truthers, and that Israel is tugging the strings. But I understand you don't necessarily care to go down that road, but I would give you the chance to respond.
Okay, good, because there are some things to respond to there. I mean, like I said, there's no evidence that anyone from Israel or that was Jewish or anything like that were behind anything that had to do with perpetrating the acts of 9/11. You have some information that some people from Israel supposedly actually went there to the U.S. to Washington to warn you about Arabs training in flight schools and that were preparing attacks before it happened. And those warnings, if they were correct, I mean, I have not seen confirmation of these warnings, but if it's correct, and I believe it is, because it was in a big paper, if it was correct, then it goes in line with all these warnings from other countries, and also from within the U.S. And those warnings actually came from Al-Qaeda via proxy. I mean, you could hear from like NSA, for example, when they were surveilling some building in Yemen or something like that, and also from other places that Al-Qaeda actually warned that they were going to do a big attack. They talked to their buddies, and you and others were listening to their conversations and heard this. You overheard it. So, I mean, all the warnings before 9/11 said that Al-Qaeda would attack you. All of them, as far as I know. And the people from Israel that were arrested, they were actually found to, maybe some didn't pass some lie detector tests, but they were not found to have any like prior knowledge or anything that would indicate that they would be a part of this. And they were like young guys, just young guys who were like, they seemed like some people who were going partying or something. And they were, of course, also fooling around when they took the pictures. There's nothing there that would indicate that they were part of this in any way. So that's one thing. But another thing that is very important to keep in mind here is that the reasons why I say that Al Qaeda did this is because, number one, they said that they did this. Not just one person, but you have at least 3 people admitting it, and 2 of them are at death row almost, or they know that if they admit this, they will send themselves to the execution. They know that. I mean, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, he's one of them. He has admitted this, and he and bin al-Shib, Ramzi bin al-Shib, both of them agreed to or admitted to this before they were arrested and also after they were arrested.
All right, let me interject here. Let me ask you this: as far as, let's call it the game on the world stage, this play that's presented, would you not agree that there's many actors and they would wear not only many faces but many masks and assimilate themselves inside of certain organizations, or even bring them into being? And point to bear is that Al Qaeda is LCIADA, in the sense that they initially were created in response to the Russian attempted invasion of Afghanistan when in the 70s. So there's many players: Al Qaeda, ISIS, Israel, Saudi Arabia, America, the minor players that are adopted in the other countries, and their secret police. So would you say that there would certainly be convolution as far as what we all would perceive as the truth that we accept for ourselves?
No, not really. I mean, there may be some problems with how the FBI acted, for example. But I mean, if you want to talk about Al Qaeda and how they were created, I mean, you have Michael Scheuer, who was like the leader, the chief at CIA that were for the group that hunted Osama bin Laden prior to 2001. He said that Osama bin Laden wouldn't even talk to them when they were in Afghanistan, when CIA was in Afghanistan during the war against the Soviets. And Al Qaeda wasn't even a creation at that time, as far as I know. And CIA only found out about Osama bin Laden and maybe Al Qaeda also around 96 or so. So no, it was not a CIA creation. That's a theory, but I have not seen proof of it. I've seen like many things, or some things saying it, like Tim Osman and stuff like that, but I have not seen definitive proof about it. I mean, there's counter theories against that says no, it's wrong. So no, I wouldn't say so. I mean, if the CIA chief, Michael Scheuer, who is actually anti-Israel or sort of anti-Israel, if he says this, why would you go against it? I don't know.
Now, I need to thank you, Judge Dredd, in chat, and I'll quantify this, or qualify it, that is. And he says the who isn't as important as the why. And there is a lot of people involved in this, and it's the why that is important. Now, contrary to the trivia method, and let me back up to the who part of the grammar, that becomes convoluted. So even though we might have all these who's, who, where, when, and I'm sorry, I messed that up. You know the grammar. And we go into the why and then to the how. So when we understand the why, we can work through some of these who's. So the who's, there's a lot of who's thrown in, and whether they have feathers on their feet, and or the thanks, Al, I'm messing this up for you, or the World Health Organization, or the rock group. Who? There's a lot of who's involved, so we can't lose ourselves in who. But the why does come. The why does come about, and how it was done. We see an obvious manipulation of world events. I mean, we had the Patriot Act come from this. This changed the world as we know it.
Yeah. So I mean, the thing is that you want to use the why because you don't have evidence for your contention.
I do, and
no.
I've covered that. I have covered that and covered that. We don't have enough time. You and I don't have enough time to cover all that, and I'm not trying to validate that 9/11 was a conspiracy at this point in time with while you and I are having this conversation, but to allow you to present your information that it was not an inside job, that these buildings did not collapse due to demolition that caused an implosion, which
so
many are obvious.
Okay, but can I respond then?
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, you have the main reason that they were damaged in the first place. That was the airplanes. So why did the airplanes go into those buildings? Well, because they were hijacked. And who hijacked them? Well, that was the hijackers, of course, and they were these Al-Qaeda people.
Yeah, and that's the negative on that. Those so-called hijackers, many have been proven to be alive.
No, none were. And Saudi Arabia had 15 people on board those planes, and they were, in 2002, they came out and said that all of these 15 that were supposedly from our country were actually on the planes, and they died on 9/11. So that was long debunked, and they said it themselves. So that is not true. And I want to say that these hijackers, they were supported. They were supported by people, right? They did not live there in the U.S. Because they had some savings account, their personal savings account. They got money from somewhere, and where did they get the money? Do you know that?
Yeah, probably from some of them trillions of dollars that have disappeared.
Oh, so you don't know that? You don't know where? Because we know that we have the facts. We have it. It's on the web. You can go to the wait. You can go to the Moussaoui trials webpage. Moussaoui trial. It's a bit hard to spell it, but I think you guys know who I'm talking about. Zacharias Moussaoui. His trial is public. You have all the exhibits public, so you can go to both the prosecution and the defense of him. So you can see the exhibits, all the prosecution's exhibits, and several of these exhibits show you that thousands of dollars came from Ramzi bin al-Shid, who was over in Hamburg in Germany, and he had lived with maybe 4 of the hijackers or 3 of the hijackers. He had lived with them there in Hamburg. He knew them. He was close friends with them. And he tried to go to the US, but he couldn't. He was denied a visa. So instead, he stayed there, and he was a known Al-Qaeda before this. And he wired money to the hijackers directly. You have it on, you have copies of this there in the exhibits that you can see online. You can go there yourself and confirm this. So you have
Jimmy, we're going to wrap out this half hour. Let me invite you back next week, and right. Let's call out. Let's get together this week, this coming week, and we'll put some bullet points together and for discussion. I'm going to go grab Lacey, and we're going to talk about concentrated feeding, animal feeding operations, and specifically one here real close to me along the Buffalo River. Let me mute up, Jimmy. Let me give you a couple of minutes to close up and perhaps present for next week. And I'm going to go grab Lacey, okay?
Okay, sure.
All right. Thanks. Hey, and Jimmy, I really appreciate you coming on. And this has been real short, you guys. So we'll come back and address it, okay? And I'm going to hand it to you, Jimmy, for a couple of minutes. And I'm going to go grab up our next guest.
Okay, thanks.
Jimmy, go ahead and let me give you a couple minutes here. Go ahead and give a close here for a couple of minutes, and I'm going to mute up, and I'll be right back. Okay.
All right. Well,
thank you.
Sure. So I encourage people to go and check what Osama bin Laden said in his so-called confession tape that was found and presented by the Pentagon in December 2001 when he was sitting on the floor and talking to another man from Saudi Arabia, where he admitted to planning 9/11. And he was just talking about how successful they were and what his expectations were for the towers. He was expecting like the top half to fall down of the towers, not for the whole building to collapse. He was expecting that because he was working in construction when he was living in Saudi Arabia, because he inherited this company from his father. So he was expecting some kind of collapse, but not this full collapse. And apart from that, I would encourage you to actually scrutinize all the conspiracy theories like I did, because I've looked at conspiracy theories very well and see that they cannot be confirmed by real evidence, almost all of them. You can have some statements that say that there were explosions, but you cannot see any evidence of actual explosions, apart from possibly the thermite, but the thermite claims could just as well be just the paint from the columns. So there's much more evidence for the official story, and that's why I back it. I don't do it to be some kind of gatekeeper or to try and ridicule any truth there or so. I mean, I can be respectful here to Vince, as you can see. So I'm just going for the truth all the way.
And you know what? That's what I appreciate. Yeah, I've been giving you a hard time the last couple of weeks, and I thought it would be important to bring you on and let you express yourself. I think we could probably take several series and address this more. So thanks,
Sure.
Jimmy. I appreciate you coming on with me, and let's do this again next week, and maybe we'll take an hour and look at this a little more closer, okay?
And you can hear that I'm honest, right?
Pardon?
You can hear that I am honest, right?
Yeah, I believe that you're honest in your feelings and your beliefs, and I think that for me is the most important thing. When I'm out searching for what I would call truth, then if we can't look at opposing views, then we suffer the consequences.
Right. And I'm not trying to like deceive you or like try to like not talk about different things, because just because I support some people, I have criticism against Israel. If you want to know that, I am critical to a lot of things they do, but at the same time, I know that some of the most peaceful people are within Israel, but not only within Israel. I mean, there are many peaceful people within the Palestinians as well. So, I mean,
absolutely,
there are a lot of people.
We are people, and we're in this world, and that is what matters. And how we get along, that's important. Thank you, Jimmy. I appreciate it, and I'll talk to you a little more later. Okay.
Cool.
All right.
So I hang up, right?
Yes, sir. Peace, brother.
Yes. See you. Bye.
All right. Oh, wow. Thank you, Jimmy. That was Jimmy. He lives in Sweden. He's descended Italiano descent. I don't know if he's a Jew or not. I've never bothered to ask him. And of course, here's the phone. Lacey, do I have you?
You have me.
Okay. Let me answer this. I was wondering if that was you. Hello. Okay. I'm sorry, Josh. I can't take your call right now. He's in federal prison right now. So, Lacey, we're going to talk about now. First of all, let me introduce you. You and I are friends and have been for years. We until recently were neighbors. And you moved off down to Hector, and you can find some Arkansas Traveler sounds on my my YouTube. You've interviewed. Oh, back to Arkansas Traveler Sounds. It was in Hector. So, just one of my little things that I do of the mini Vinnies. But anyways, you and I've followed your work. you spent a few years online university, and you're writing now, doing a great job. I went with you when I did the little short recording there of some sounds out in Arkansas, and we went down and interviewed that woman. She's a minister in jail, and so you've done a lot of pieces. And right now, just a little bit north of me, the first American scenic river, the Buffalo River here in Arkansas, it's under siege in a way, and there might be debate amongst those people that claim to be producers on the land. Of course they are, but to what cost? And this ties a lot into stakeholders and stockholders and all the stalking horses. But let's talk about CAFO. What does that mean, first of all?
Okay, a CAFO is an abbreviation for a concentrated animal feeding operation. And basically the benefits of, there's people for and against. There's both sides. Just on, there's people from PETA that are wondering how the animals are treated. There's a question of whether these animals are eating just only feed and not what their regular diet would be if they were grazing, and that aspect of it. But one of the benefits for farmers of operating a CAFO is that it's easier to manage a large number of animals in a small space. So that's part of the thing that is going on there in Newton County. There is a CAFO that is called C&H Hog Farms, and they are permitted by the Arkansas Department of Environmental Quality to house 6,500 hogs, and they have like about a 23-acre farm. So they have quite a few animals, and I guess the thing about this particular farm is that it is well within the Buffalo River watershed. They are located 1.6 miles from Big Creek, and that's a major tributary to the Buffalo National River. And in fact, the Buffalo is only 6 miles away from this CAFO. One of the reasons why that is an issue is because by design, these facilities, this one is a swine operation. So the pigs are in a barn, and their excrement just goes through slats in the floor and is then collected in these waste lagoons that are on the property. Now they hold quite a bit of raw hog waste. In fact, about as much hog waste and wastewater is in these tanks or lagoons rather, that would operate the entire city of Harrison, Arkansas, which if some of you are familiar with that, it's pretty big. But the area that it's in is a very small and rural area called Mount Judy. And this is all in Newton County. Another part of this is that there is a thing called a nutrient management plan. And what this means is that these hog wastes are actually, they do contain nutrients. They contain nitrates and phosphorus and things that go into fertilizer. And so they're using this as a form of fertilizer to spray the waste onto nearby hayfields. And these hayfields are right directly across from Big Creek. One of the things about this particular part of Arkansas, the northwest corner, is that it is on a very different type of terrain than some of the other areas in Arkansas. It's called a karst topography. And what that means is there's a lot of underground stuff going on that we don't see. It's basically limestone, which is a very porous and water soluble type rock. It gets little pathways and things just form all the time. There's also a lot of underground springs. There's sinkholes. There's caves and things of that nature that just make it difficult to know exactly where the water is going to flow, especially when you're applying things to a field. It might not stay on that field. As besides just runoff, it might be actually going down into some of these unseen waterways that, you know, connect in ways that people just don't really know. You'd have to go in and do dye tracing tests to kind of see where the underground water systems connect. And there are a group of volunteers down in Newton County that are doing just that, and they're aided by a couple of scientists who are helping them to complete these studies. And they've been very surprised that, you know, some of the places that these dye traces have showed up from wells and springs close to the hog farm and close to Big Creek to way out in places that are much further away. So, I mean, there's a lot going on with this controversy. There's the environmental groups. There's the Buffalo River Watershed Alliance, who was formed in response to this hog farm cropping up in the watershed. And I guess part of the thing was the Environmental Protection Agency a few years back, 2011 or so, changed the way that they handled the permits for these CAFOs. And they kind of turned it over to each state agency to regulate for themselves. So they were able, each state then was able to go ahead and say, yes, you can have this facility here, or no, you can't, instead of it having to go all the way to the federal government, the EPA, and go through that process. So when that happened, Arkansas received one of the very first permits for this type of operation in Newton County and in the watershed. And they went ahead, and there was not really a lot of public like they didn't announce it. They didn't come and say, hey, we're gonna build this facility, this is what it does, this is where it's gonna go. And they just sort of posted, which was all they were required to do by law, is just kind of post it on the ADEQ website. And so unless you're, you know, have a special interest, or maybe you're Tyson or somebody who's just kind of watching for that type of thing, you wouldn't really think to go on there and say, I wonder if they're, you know, going to slip a big hog operation in and you know, get a chance to say anything. So before anyone, you know, or at least not, there were people that knew, and I've talked to some of the people that did know that this was going on, but before the majority of people were aware that this business was gonna be located where it is and operational, then they were already set to go. They had already received, you know, millions of dollars in financing from the Small Business Association Administration and the Farm Bureau, and they were actually, the swine at that time were owned by a major privately owned company called Cargill. And Cargill, I've done some checking with them. They just have an atrocious record as far as environmental violations and human rights violations. And that's who initially they went into business with. They owned the hogs. The farmers owned the farmland and the farm. And now, as of like last year in 2015, a different company took over the swine operations for Cargill. And so now the company is owned by a major meat corporation called JBS. So they're still in operations. And I guess that people are kind of, there's a lot of different voices out there. There's a big response from the governor's office. The governor has received, Asa Hutchinson has received a lot of letters about the Buffalo River in regards to this CNH hog farm over the years. In fact, he stated, you know, publicly several times that he's received just as much mail about this as he has on any other issue that he gets mail about. So there's been a big public outcry to kind of say, hey, what's going on here? If this swine waste were to actually, you know, pollute or reach the river, there's no doubt it would mess up the quality of the water, because That's one of the things that the Buffalo National River and that makes it so unique. Like the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers classifies the Buffalo National River and Big Creek as an extraordinary water body. So it's just always been really pristine. And now, of course, there's a danger to see if nutrients, phosphates, E. coli, all of the things that would be associated with swine waste were to reach that river, then there goes your water quality. And there's a lot of implications with that. For instance, the phosphorus itself is a rather insidious type of thing, because it takes a long time to actually go away. I mean, it could, when there's an abundance of phosphorus in water, in land, wherever it may be, it could take 10 or 15 years or 30 years to just minimize and go back down to the levels that it was before. And that's if it stops being applied. So there's a big concern there. I've heard reports of people that are getting sick from the Buffalo National River. Now, there's not a lot of proof out there that, yes, I got sick. It was because of the water from the Buffalo River, and that links directly back to the CAFO. I mean, so we're kind of missing that middle link that says this is for sure the reason why. But there's most certainly been some things that are happening, and I'm hoping that people, become aware. Like if you are on the Buffalo and you're floating the Buffalo, if you drink water and you do get sick, go to the doctor. Ask the doctor to test you for these waterborne illnesses. There's a couple of teens down in Texas that traveled up to Buffalo with it's a missionary group called Leader Trek, I believe, called Leader Trek, and they went on a canoe trip down the Buffalo, and they became very ill after drinking water. The guide, I guess, told them, it's okay, just put the dye packet, you can drink the water straight from the Buffalo, and they did. Now these kids are in. They did this in July is when they made the trip. They became immediately very sick. They've been hospitalized. They've had. They are still in the hospital. Their stomachs are basically paralyzed. They're being taken care of by intravenous feeding and feeding tubes and things of that nature. And the doctors have confirmed that it was a waterborne illness. Now, they haven't been able to tie the parasite directly back to the CAFO, as I mentioned. So we can't prove that that's what it is. But they are still trying to recover for this, and they may not. They are still at the stage where they may not recover. So, there's a big and growing concern about it. On the other side, there's a lot of people who still support the farm. I mean, these guys are legally doing what they're supposed to do. They're within the law, and let's leave them alone. So there's a lot to it.
Now you're going to release your story Monday. I shared into the RLM radio chat here the link that you did there. Also tweeted that out earlier this morning. And they're drilling these holes now to check for this. Now where I'm at, the Buffalo, how far is that north of us here? Or where I live, no more than 50 miles.
Yeah, you're about 50 miles from the Buffalo, absolutely, in Newton County. Mm-hmm.
And the strata changes north of me up between somewhere about Marshall, and you start getting into this limestone rock. So there's a big geographical difference in a sense between me and 50 miles. Now here they not right here, but around here. They've been fracking for a while, and there's a lot of evidence to contamination of water. And this is going to tie in the next hour. We're going to talk about the the Dakotas up there, what's going on up there with Indian Wars, lessons from a Lakota woman. And then Jose is going to join in the second quarter of the broadcast. So we have a difference in topography here and in the strata deposition that and it is, like you said, these limestone caves, this limestone region up there is known for being porous. The caves and Blanchard Springs and others. So it's more apt to run into the ground. There was the illness, the Brazos River down in Texas, waterborne. Let's see. Graham says, well, you might have to re-listen, Graham. This is Lacey, a friend of mine, and talking about the runoff or the where the water is seeping in from these hog farms. Well, this one particular C&H hog farms, and how it will pollute the rivers and the drinking water. So sum this up for the listening impaired. Sorry.
Okay, there's a big controversy going on in Newton County because of the fact that this C&H hog farm houses so many animals. It's a concentrated animal feeding operation with around 6,500 hogs, and they are so close to the Buffalo River watershed that there's a great concern that waste from their swine from their lagoons where it's collected and the spraying of fields, which is a part of their nutrient management plan, will end up in the water sources, will end up in the Buffalo National River, will end up polluting the residents' springs and wells. And a lot of people in that area, they do not have another water source. They rely on their springs and they live on their wells. And so if this water should become contaminated, they're probably not going to spend the extra money to hook up because they probably can't afford to hook up to rural water system. They just drink it. And so there's a growing concern about this. At the same time, there's, like I said, there's people on the other side, people that, I guess the people that are running the farm, and I'll talk about them for a minute. The farm is owned by Jason Henson and his two cousins, which are Richard Campbell and Philip Campbell. And these boys, or they're men, I'm sorry, are from Newton County. Their families are from Newton County. They've been there for probably over 100 years. So, and they are experienced hog farmers. They have run other CAFOs. They have run other hog farms. And so they come into this thing just trying to do something that they know how to do in an area where they live. And they didn't, I don't imagine they expected to have so many eyes looking at them and what they're doing and criticisms about the fact that they're so close to the river. But that's exactly what happened. They basically, the stance of the owners is, look, we own this land, we're doing everything by the law. And they did do some extra things in the design of the farm, like for instance those waste lagoons I keep talking about. They made them thicker than they were required to by the EPA, and they did that in an effort to kind of protect and avoid things like leakages and stuff that could possibly, pollute the land. So there's that side of it. Then there's the environmental groups, and the environmental groups are dead set against having any CAFOs operate that close to the river. For a while eventually there became a 5-year moratorium that banned any new CAFOs from opening up within that watershed. And a team was hired by, they were appointed by the governor, and they are government funded. They receive about $300,000 each year, and they are called the Big Creek Research and Extension Team. And what they do is they go out and they do testing on the water sources, on the things around the farm, and they try to determine if there is anything from the farm that is, gonna reach the other water sources in the area. So there's just some questions. I mean, I've talked to Andrew Sharpley, who is the director of the Big Creek Research and Extension team, and he is adamant that they are doing their best to be non-biased and to be honest about what they found. And according to him, they haven't found anything that significantly changes the environment. But there are some questions as to whether that's really the case, because there were some electrical resistivity testing, image testing, which is a big thing. That just means they took a machine and looked under the ground, under those waste lagoons, to see if there was anything that they could see with their machine. And
okay,
go ahead.
let me come in here with you, Lacey. When you started working on this story, 2 or 3 months ago, we had been talking on this, and I gave some example. Spavinaw Creek runs out of Arkansas into Oklahoma. Spavinaw Lake is the water source for my hometown, Tulsa, Oklahoma. We see contamination there, lawsuits, and this is from spreading the waste onto basically hay fields. It runs off. You get nitrogen and all kinds of other stuff, good stuff for you. Where I'm at here, I mean, I have literally drinking. I've got to laugh. John went, well, if ever I see a Texas waddy that ain't drank water from a muddy hoof print. But serious. I mean, I can drink groundwater here. I drink out of a well. Thank goodness the fracking didn't get here. So you're going to release your story. Give us a location where we can find your blog spot, Lacey.
Sure. You can find out the full story on LaceyChantelKennan.com.
There you go. So we've got about 3 minutes to the top of the hour, and I'm gonna move into a little bit of my history study on the Sioux Nation, basically building up for the no DAPL, the protest up there in the Dakotas now on the pipeline, and it ties to water. Now, I'd love to get you back on and do a follow-up and maybe consolidate this.
You bet.
All right. Let me give you a couple of minutes here to round out. I'm going to mute up and gather my notes here, and then I'll have to go gather at Jose and bring him on along as well. So let me give you a couple of minutes, Lacey, and thanks for coming on. And again, Lacey Chantel Kennan, is that correct?
That's right. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And if you're on Facebook, you can find that on my page, Vincent Easley II. Freedom's Network. If I don't think I posted that year. I may have. I think I did already, but if not, I will. So follow along. I did post it here in the chat, and not keeping up so well with the chat as I'm conversing here. So thank you again, Lacey, and let me mute up.
You bet. I just wanted to say that if anyone wanted to continue, if you have opinions and thoughts, there is a new Facebook page called Behind the Watershed, and you can find that on Facebook. Feel free to join the conversation there, and doesn't matter which side you're on. Go ahead and post up your thoughts, your ideas, pictures, videos. Everybody's welcome. And we just really like to know more about how the people feel, whether you live in Newton County or somewhere else in the nation or the world. We'd like you to chime in. So go ahead and find that Behind the Watershed Facebook page and let us know what you're thinking. So I guess Vincent's probably still working on the next segment of his broadcast. So I just wanted to say that I appreciate the opportunity to come on here and kind of make people aware of this new development that's gone on in Newton County, and just let people know that there are, groups out there. There's the Buffalo Rivershed, I'm sorry, I totally messed that up. the Buffalo River Watershed Alliance. That is a group out there. It's a nonprofit organization. You can join that for free, and they have a lot of information on their website as well.
All right. Thanks, Lacey. I appreciate you. We'll catch up later. And hey, thanks, Judge Dredd, for posting your link there. Lacey, ChantelKennan.com awesome. In the RLM radio chat.
Thank you.
All right. Talk to you, Lacey.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. On Facebook, I posted a series of links to outline a short history of the Sioux. So we'll kick it off right now. Indian Wars, Lessons from a Lakota Woman. I took well, not these notes here, but my later notes are my poetic, plagiaristic paraphrasism from a movie from, I think, 1994, and I'll gather that up. But let me run down a short history here of the Sioux and what it is that they're more up against. Well, let me just add to that notes here in just a bit. So we're looking at some 7 generations of genocide of the Sioux Nation. They came from the Great Lakes into the Great Plains centuries ago. They occupied and defended these lands, which extended over several states from Canada to Nebraska into Wyoming, and then through, of course, the Dakotas. So by divine discovery and manifest destiny, we've got precedent of occupying and conquering. Our Article 6 of the U.S. Constitution set treaties as the supreme law of the land. And that is a bit convoluted. And if I can gather myself directly, I might be able to come back to that. And it may require a follow-up next week, I'm certain. In 1851, there was a Fort Laramie Treaty, and it was signed by 6 men. In 1868, the second treaty, the Fort Laramie Treaty of 1868 came to being, and it reduced nation to reservation. In 1871, Indian Appropriations Act, and it no longer then recognized the Sioux and other nations as sovereign. In 1877, we have Sell or Starve, and the Black Hills was conquered, and the 1880s saw the theft of the children. I'm sorry, let me start that again. The 1880s saw the theft of the children, and that was to kill the Indian to save the man. In 1885, Major Crimes Act came into being. In 1877, it broke down land to individual parcels, and I think that that might be tied to what is known as head rights. In 1889, they broke into even smaller reservations, and 1890 was Wounded Knee. In 1903, they break the treaties. 1934, the Indian Reorganization Act came into being. And in the 60s and the 70s, we saw sterilization of the Sioux women, as most especially those that were showed to be pure and of pure of race. And I'm sorry to use those terms. In 1973, we had Wounded Knee 2. And in 1980, Congress said it was illegal, this 1877 seizure of the Black Hills. Those are the short notes. We might come back and cover those. So let's move towards the lessons from the Lakota Woman. And we can know that our actions merit our belief, and they're representative of our faith. And this is not so much a podcast, it is a podcast, and that is that I'd like to prod you along in your thinking and in my study. So I may not be a teacher, but I'm certainly a student. And we find that we have pumped into our heads so many facts that sometimes there's not much more room to think. So how do we walk away from this? How do you walk away? How do you choose not to be a hostage of your situation? If life is lost, how do you find it? The pain is gain, or so they say. And I'm a little horse, or a squatting dog. Now I laugh at myself. You're welcome to do so as well. There is a new wind, and it's blowing, and it's on the way. So sober up or die. You might ask me, what have I done? What did I do or didn't? But we probably need to ask that of ourselves. I think I need to skip a page and then go back. Let's see here. Yeah, I think so. Or is that? Yeah, let me go ahead and start with lessons right now. Lessons from a Lakota woman. And this was, I took these notes along, and I was inspired as I watched the movie on YouTube, and I'll gather that and bring it to you. Welcome, Lacey. I see you have joined the chat as Shiloh Lace. Okay. And of course, my notes are as hard for me to read as maybe for you to hear. All right. If we stop to pay attention, and as we may or may not have done on that day, we will have just us. Justice is not served, it is taken. If we understand, we then serve. The hills echo with the warrior's cry, living fossils yet to die. Bury me at Wounded Knee. As we fought, we were killed. That's the facts, and that's the deal. Someone has to stay and finish this. The start is not the finish. The race is won by one. This is where our aim must come. A little pun with aim, American Indian movement. Must come off the reservation, back from where we're from. Bury my heart at Wounded Knee. We hold. There I will stay. Welcome to the resolution. Don't let me talk and then say shut up. Who am I? The enemy? Who are you? We will not want to see what these madmen do next. It's time to collect the rent from the abrogated reason. I'm sorry, I messed that up. It's time to collect the rent from the traitor, abrogated of reason. Starved and fed, fast-acting led. How far have I come? How far will I go? If I were you, I'd watch my ass. It's a war. Take my heart to Wounded Knee. Do you understand our disposition? Surrender or die, it's only position. We find our salvation deep inside. Still they do not listen. There's a new world coming. Even if the buffalo do not come, or if they're driven, life is what we're living. Ghost dancing as romancing. Today we have a new name, and it is our way. The lie stands to die. It ain't no joke. Spit, spilt, or whatever blood. It's us, folks, a regular bloke. Our kids, you take no more note. You have no clue who we are. Bring it. We bring it back. Our chains unshackled. The warrior's cry will not die. Bury it not at Wounded Knee. The world say it is seen, it is heard. This is my final word. That we the people live. My burial ground will not be hid. Prosecuted not in good faith. Spirit of justice muddied in the rivers of polluted just us. Give, don't be taken. Limp along with wounded knee. Counting coup. When we're where we stood, no, where we're heard. I'm sorry. Where we're heard, where we stand, we're never dead. We're healed. Where we're healed, we're never dead. So I mixed that up a little bit. All right. And I think those are the notes that I collected from that. Let me see here if I can come along. Now, I want to also contrast some too, where we stand in our emotional stance. We fool ourselves sometimes, right? So I mean, while we're banning prayer and burning the flag, and we're pro-abortion and anti-death penalty, vice versa, whatever. Some kind of oxymoronic, right? The nigger call it cracker privilege. That said, with some reservation, people are hopeless, or so it seems, except some. And then there are the one made out to be the fool. This is a continuation. This idea of these head rights as a pseudo-Semite claims to stand. Can you speak the language yet learn the land? When the West went wild on the plains, plain to sea, oh yes, sea to shining sea. All this for some, then not you and me, a worthless cow, the stalking horse. Stolen, unsettled, there is no peace. No peace is war. That reference to the worthless cow really was a kickoff for the war against the Sioux. All pretense. So I bypassed the 420 report, the first hour, and I want to discuss that a little bit here coming up, and be ready for Jose, and we're going to come in and talk some too. Excuse me. So tell you what, let me take a pause here on recording. All okay, right. And we're back, and I have my friend and former co-host Jose. ¿Cómo está, carnal?
Bien. I still hear the Skype ringing noise, though. What's going on?
That's your wonderful Skype sounds. Yeah, it ought to quit. I don't hear it. I'm going to type in your name here. Live now. On wait a minute. RLM radio. No, radio. .xyz. There you go.
So RLM stands for
Real Liberty Media.
Real Liberty Media.
.com. Okay, so I gave a little short outline of a short history of the Sioux Nation and how they've been condensed. I'm afraid that just a little bit I had to say did not probably did not convey very well, but on Facebook I posted earlier Indian Wars Lessons from a Lakota Woman, and you can find in that post all the links to follow along the history, at least to give you an outline, and hashtagged with no DAPL, white privilege, and people of color. Now, you were on last week. So some people may not know how to respond when we hear hurt from another, and the grievance of actions taken against people of color. And I know that's a broad perspective using that, and I do it on purpose, not only to reflect the Southern ideology, that's antiquated, but anyways. So glad you could come on, Jose. Let me go over and see somebody's pinged me over here. Pinged me. There's Grimner. Oh, he's got Hose B. No, it's Hose A. We have fun with your name sometimes, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You have fun with my name.
Condensed Sue, says Judge. So look, today is Veterans Day, celebrating murder, death, kill. Now that will strike some as quite offensive, but the truth is that people die and kill in the name of the corporatocracy, and that's what America is, after all.
Yeah. On behalf, of course, I think I've established that I am a veteran. Even though there were a few conflicts, combat conflicts while I was 6 years in the Army, I was fortunate enough to be able to avoid any assignment to such conflicts. But I want to say that on behalf of all veterans, and I'm sure the majority of us feel this way, we don't want your appreciation. Just leave it alone.
Jose, your mic's a little bit low. I wonder if you can approach the mic a little more or turn up your gain, perhaps. Anyway, but anyways, while I interrupt you, it is in just any second now 4:20 somewhere, and we interrupt the current program with the 420 report from the Buzz Viva. Okay, so November 8th, we saw the elections, and medical marijuana issue 6 was passed in Arkansas. Did I say that? It's Arkansas. So let's change the S to a W. But anyways, all it does is drug war. So war has been the theme, the running theme here for feedback for the last several weeks. So the drug war, would some people think that we've won a battle? Well, I would say that the stalking horse has took the shot, took us down. We passed the issue 6, which puts the drug dealing into the hands of the state and big business. So congratulations. You can now spend your money. You can probably still get a better deal on the black market when it's all said and done. So F-U, drug war, and all that it entails. Okay, so that's the 420 report. Pass. Okay, do we still have you then, Jose? Perhaps. Let me go look at Skype. I might have to go add you back. And we don't have Jose. So let me get him back. He dropped off. There you are. Click, add to call. Call failed. Oh, well, what happened to you? He's probably doing a restart or something. Here's my back scratcher. Let me scratch my back and scratch my head. And we'll think about this for a moment, shall we? Who's that guy? There he is. It's that guy right there. Oh, and he fell. Let's try again. Odd people to this call. What happened? Call failed. All right, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Let me go over here and pause for a moment. All right, we got you back, brother.
Here I am.
All right. The stupidest Skype.
I can't blame it all on Skype. But anyway, so what happened while I was gone? Did you miss me?
Yes, we missed you. We were throwing rocks and didn't know which direction to throw.
As long as it doesn't rhyme with way.
Wait, no way. Hey, what is a way in Spanish?
Well, often referred to as a baby, a calf or a cow, but really it means stupid or less intelligent.
It means no huevos, right? Castrated in a sense.
Well, kind of. When you're thinking of the technical terms, remember what I told you about. There are no bad words in Spanish. There are only Spanish words used badly, right? Uh, uh, because we use the word "way" a lot in our slang. You know, like "Orale, way, what's going on? Hey, way, you know, what are you doing?" Or "Hey, way, it's good to see you." You know, and basically it's just like calling each other, you know, jerk, fool, right? It's interchangeable with pendejo, but you know, pendejo is harder to say than way, right? Technically, it is, yeah, like a a calf, a bull calf. Maybe that has been castrated. You know, that could be one of the definitions. And remember, the hideous thing about Espanol is that there's so many cultures, different cultures that use it, just like the English language. You know, you go to Alabama and certain words are used differently than if you go to Australia. It's the same language, but you know, they use
Not really, huh?
yeah. Well, you know,
I really come to appreciate the English idiomas. Very, very colorful.
and in Espanol, for example, um, remember I said that there's no bad words in Spanish. There are only Spanish words. Here in Texas and in a lot of the United States, we use the word coger to mean the F word, as in you know, you had a date last night, and I would ask you, ¿la cogiste?
La cogiste.
Which means, you know, did you F her? Well, when I was stationed in Panama with the Army, because today is Veterans Day, I went there, and the master mechanic, you know, I had to help him while he was repairing my truck, and I was his assistant, and so he would tell me, Gonzalez, cójame esa llave, cójame esta, cójame esa, and I was like, Mr. Robinson, what are you saying to me, right? Well, come to find out, the word coger just means grab or get, right? So he's saying, give me that wrench, get me that wrench, or get me the jack, get me this. So I thought, wow, I get it now. Back in this world, in the United States, when Mexicanos say, la voy a coger, we mean, I'm going to get her, right? So it's a nice.
And sacole means what? Hit it?
What is the word?
Sacole way.
Sapole?
Saco. Like toque.
Yeah. I would have to. I'd have to see it written down because you have it. I don't know if you realize this. You have a terrible accent, man.
It's everybody else that talks funny.
But most words are regional. But anyway, I'd like to get back to what I was saying before I was so rudely disconnected by Skype here. What happened is Skype. I think Skype did an update on me or something. Yeah, Skype. I hate Skype. But anyway, as I was saying, I think I speak for all veterans when I say, just leave us alone. We don't want you to thank us. I'm sure there's a few veterans out there that are, you know, with their chest up high. They're proud that they served and they killed and stuff like this. But most of us, you know, we don't even want you to come to us and say, hey, thank you for your service, because we're embarrassed that we were so stupid and so willing to do such horrible things, even if we didn't do them. You know?
You may be representing the minority in speaking that, because most people are still sold out gung-ho, even to all the ills done to the soldiers. And it's los pobres, the poor ones that go to war.
Yeah, but I will respectfully disagree. You are referring to the loud minority that gets the press. They get the media. They get the cameras. The rest of us are like, man, let's just go to the store and buy some wood and build this shed already. You know, we don't even, if we save our uniforms, it's like at the back of the closet. you know. And every time we go to the closet, we look at it, we're like, man, should I throw this away now? Well, I'm gonna keep it another couple of years, what the heck. And then our kids will find our uniforms and they'll say like, wow, Dad, you were in the army, or you were in the Marines, or you were in service. And we're like, yeah, put that back. Well, tell us about it. I'd rather not talk about it. It was not a good experience. Very few of us will go out to, if there even were, a Veterans Day parade. Yes, there's a lot of guys who are a part of the VFW. Oh, sorry. Mind you, remember, VFW stands for Veterans of Foreign Wars. DAV stands for Disabled American Veterans. I am a disabled American veteran, but I refuse to join a DAV because they want to parade me around so that they can get donations and funds for their organization, right?
Sure.
And we don't want that. Those of us who do go to the VA for medical services, we don't sit around talking about the glory days of when we were in service. We sit in the waiting room, and if we talk at all, we try to talk about how bad the service is at the VA, because we don't want to bring up, hash up those old memories of when we were willing to kill. Right? Yeah. It sounds glorious when you say, "Oh man, you put your life, you put your life on the line. You were willing to risk your life for the freedom that we have here in America." There's so many wrong things with that statement, right? That statement is wrong in so many ways. Have you ever? I've never heard an internet radio show about veterans, with veterans talking about themselves. Have you?
Talking about what now?
About themselves, talking about how happy, how glad they are that they served. Because we didn't serve. Once we get out, we realize, you know what? We were stupid. We were bullshitted. Pardon the language, but we were tricked into serving and risking our lives for a corporate profit, not for the freedoms. No one has died for freedoms in the United States ever.
No, and General Smedley Butler, he speaks to that on, I watched Tarzan here a week or so back, the new Tarzan movie, and Samuel L. Jackson, first time he never said MF in a movie as far as I know, but he was representative of that soldier, the mercenary, whether you're officially in a branch of any country's service, it's still mercenaries nonetheless. And he spoke of the atrocities of war and the killing of the indigenous and in the different continents and the conquering for empire, which brings white privilege, hashtag, people of color, hashtag. And where that ties in with the indigenous of the Sioux people and their plight. So very important to have this topic in discussion. And what are we accomplishing when we go to the other countries and bomb them, or with depleted plutonium or uranium and so forth?
Yeah, it was a term that. Oh man, I say this with some level of embarrassment, because I went active duty in 1982, right? Ronald Reagan was bringing national pride back to the United States, and everybody was gung ho, kind of the way Trump was doing now, right? Except Ronald Reagan was a much more likable character. He was less harsh. Now, I was ignorant of the fact of this phrase. There was I think it was called it was either the Latino Memorandum. No. Okay, what was it? The Latino. What's the word I'm looking for?
Initiative.
It means stop. It means to stop.
To stop.
Yeah.
Anyways, go ahead.
Well, some crazy Mexicanos. I try not to refer to myself or us as moratorium. That's the word I'm looking for. Okay,
Moratorium.
so some crazy Mexicanos did some research and they found out, hey, Mexicanos are almost 10% of the population in the United States, but we're 40% of the soldiers being killed in Vietnam. What the hell's going on, right?
People of color.
So they started a movement called the Hispanic Moratorium, which means, hey, let's stop killing Mexicans. Let's stop sending Hispanics to the front lines, right? You can imagine what was going on in Vietnam. Here's a armed forces, predominantly blacks and Mexicanos, right? And the officers were predominantly white. And so they're like, okay, we need to send some guys out there to patrol. This time we know there's some, Viet Cong in the area, so we're going to send the Mexicanos or the blacks, right? I'm not sure about the statistics of blacks, right? Let some black guy come up with those stats for the show. I'm a Mexicano, right? But the news, the body bags started coming in, and it seemed like every small town, had a picture of some son that had died, posted at the courthouse or at the city hall. But the little Mexicano towns had like 3 or 4 pictures of sons that had died in the Vietnam War, and we started, questioning, hey, what the heck is going on? So they actually, had a big protest to bring attention to the fact that Mexicanos were being killed. I think it was called the Chicano moratorium, right? And the establishment responded by calling out the National Guard and sending riot police and dogs and water cannons and stuff to shut these Mexicanos up. It was particularly savage in Los Angeles. I know y'all call it Los Angeles, but
I call it City of the Angels.
Yeah, there you go. Because you got that white privilege, you can just
That's
change
right.
your name. You can just change your
it.
name. Anyway.
Exactamente.
But of course they, the protesters just wanted to bring attention to this, and there were helicopters, tear gas, and stuff for a peaceful demonstration. Ultimately, you piss off a whole bunch of Mexicanos trying to be peaceful, so they went out and burned stores and police cars and made all this kind of big mess out of it. And of course, the white people watching this on television, on the news, said, well, what's wrong with all these Mexicans? What do they want? Why are they making all this trouble? They didn't say, hey, why are the cops beating these Americans? Because
probably for smoking the marijuana and raping the white women's.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, but there you go again. The white privilege, where you get to see other people as not American. Whenever you picture the American dream, you picture a white husband and a white wife with 2.4 white kids and a dog and half a cat, or whatever, but you don't picture them as a dark-skinned couple who also wants a house.
That's changing.
And
that's not the perception anymore. Really, honestly, this world's a whole different place. We're still fighting, though, right? We're still at war.
Well, you can say that's changing, but I'm not in the chat room, so I don't know. But there'll be people in the chat room saying, no, you're wrong. You don't know. See, white people, another privilege they have is they get to tell me that I'm wrong about things that I've gone through. They get to tell me how it really is.
Wait a minute. Yo soy bolillo. I'm white bread here. So, have I ever done that?
You just did.
How?
I just said
It's a
you don't picture the American dream as a dark skinned people, and you told me that's changing.
It is, and let me explore that just a little bit more.
Yes, okay.
Out in Vegas.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Before you do, let me give you permission to white-splain it to me.
Explaining.
White-splain it.
Why explain it? Okay, so okay, I'll accept that. So in Vegas, you want to see the American dream? Go look at the Latino. There, they are the ones. Usually first generation, second generation Latino business owners, homeowners. They've got the new truck. They're the ones working hard. Just as we find in Bunkerville, the Mormon folks out there, the old time American way has exhibited the morality, the hard work. We also see example in the Mexican culture as well as that being. And I do say times are changing. The perception from the non-colored folks, such as myself and others, it's changing. It really is. It's our world's getting better. We're still in this war. We're fighting to make this change. And
well, I do agree with you. Times are changing, but how much have they changed, really? Right? Because the problem is that the white dominant, the dominant culture in the United States is still white. And any time that anybody that is not white is successful within the system, it is because this non-white individual has become as white as he possibly can be. For example, I wonder if you would have me on your show if I had a Mexican accent and I talked like this, and every second, third word I use, you had to make me explain it to you because you don't understand the way I talk. No, you have me on because you have me on the show because I'm a well-spoken man. Well-spoken in English. I'm well-spoken in English. And Tim Wise.
Let me interrupt. I have you on because I appreciate your perspective. You and I have been friends for a while, and I think it's important for me to have your perspective, for me to be able to learn more. And that's what we should be doing is learning from one another.
And the respect is mutual because I have learned a bunch from you. I was surprised, really, because before I knew you, I saw your picture. And I was like, oh, just another redneck,
que guapo.
And then I heard you talking. I'm like, this guy's just saying the right thing. Because, lip service, you say what you should say, but you don't, it doesn't really change how you feel. Okay, it's okay. You can feel prejudice and you can feel hate as long as you keep it inside. But once you act upon your prejudice and your hate, then that's a whole another story we're talking about, right? Which is what Tim Wise brings up in many of his speeches. He says, "What white privilege is so disgusting that you will only invite a white man to come and speak at your university to speak about white privilege, when it is the black man and the Latino that is the expert on white privilege." And he's talking about himself. He's referring to the fact that he's only considered the expert because he is white, right? So people will listen to a white man talking about white privilege and call him a traitor to his race and all this kind of stuff, but they won't invite Samuel L. Jackson to go talk about white privilege, and I'm sure Samuel L. Jackson is perfectly capable of speaking eloquently. And when he doesn't, we all love to hear him cuss anyway, right? right? But anyway, it's unfortunate, and it's not. It has changed, because before we were talking, in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, we were talking about white supremacy. Now we're talking about white privilege, right? So I guess some things have changed, because white folks are trying to treat us as equals, but they still have the privilege of failing and saying, "Hey, well, things are changing anyway. Things are better. Things are still better." My mother, the people in my neighborhood signed a petition and gave it to the realtor, trying to prevent the realtor from selling a house to us because my mother was Mexicana, right? And of course, my mother was Mexicana because she had the dark eyebrows and was born of the Mexicano culture, but she was born in Duval County, Texas. She was born in Texas, right? And her parents were born in Texas. We were one of those families that did not cross the border, but the border crossed us. I'm going to keep on talking because it got quiet.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can barely hear you, but way back in the background.
Okay. Am I breaking up any?
No, but you're very soft.
Well, let me qualify myself again this week, and I'll add to the many Vinnies, the lives I've lived. Now, when I had said that I lived with Mexicans and worked with Mexicans, now I'm not talking just about in proximity, but I'm talking about me and a dozen Mexicans all on one floor, sleeping and drinking beer the night before and ready to go to work the next day, eating a good la comida. Y mi corazón también es mexicano. So I have an affinity. I like I said, I've lived in many different cultures. I was called a chameleon by a fellow I worked for out in Sacramento, California. Adaptation. So, but we become, in a sense, who those are around us are.
Yeah.
And learning to get to know each other and finding it's not you and me, or us and them. It's us together. And this is the illusion that needs to be collapsed. Thank you, Flash. The illusion. Collapse the illusion. Right? I'm accused of having 3 bullshit guests on in a row. Wow. I guess you need to go back and listen a little more closely there, Judge Dredd, and find what's relevant within. So I'm not here to give my ideology, to stand on a pulpit or a soapbox and cry glory. America, we've got this to do here together. Did I lose you, Jose?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I definitely agree. You are one of the exceptions to the rule. But put you in a room with 20 other workers, whereas you are the only white guy, and there are immigra, you're the only one that's not going to contemplate running.
Right? I would run just to have fun.
But that's your privilege, right? Yeah.
And
of course, I do want to point out that, at the risk of quoting other people, remember, Jane Elliott says, white people's number one freedom in the United States of America is the freedom to be totally ignorant about those who are other than white. We don't have to learn about those who are other than white. Number 2 freedom is the freedom to deny that we are ignorant. That's Jane Elliott. She's white, by the way. She's a self-professed bitch, and she did the brown eyes versus blue eyes with children, which I think was probably one of those science tests that would be banned in today's culture. But your friend there, saying 3 bullshit guests in a row. Yeah, your first one was bullshit. The lady talking about CAFOs was totally spot on. She did, neglect to mention a few things that I'm sure she's aware of, regarding drugs and chemicals that they give these animals. But, he's denying me. He doesn't want to learn about my culture. He wants his life to go on as usual because that is his freedom. That is his privilege. He can say, "Oh, Jose feels like he's not equal." Oh, that's bullshit. Everybody's equal, right? And that's his privilege to do that. I cannot take that away from him.
That's
because he's white and I am not. And he can take it away from me because he's white and I am not. And if I protest about it, he'll send helicopters and water cannons and tear gas, right? And I'll be put on the news and people will say, what the hell is wrong with Jose? Why can't he just get a job like everybody else and be happy in America? I see it's 1 minute after the hour. Are we still talking or?
Yeah, we're. I think your clock is fast. We're at 4 till. I just dropped into to chat there behind the Woodshed Podcaster, September 18th, 2016, Real Liberty Media. That Hal spoke and he covered my coverage of the protest, the water protectors. And spoke well of that. And I think there's a lot to learn from Hal. And if y'all ain't otherwise engaged, go on over there, reallibertymedia.com, 2016, September 18th, behind the Woodshed. And give a listen to that. It's 2 hours. I think you'll learn a lot. So we're going to wrap out here in just 2 or 3 minutes. Thanks again, Jose, for coming on. I really enjoy our discussions, and I, as well as I enjoy the comments over here, and it just tells the mindset, and it just makes it easier to understand when we see all these different viewpoints. So, anyways, thank you, Jose, and Lacey. Thank you, and Jimmy. Thank you also for coming on. And if y'all are listening downstream, come on back over to rlmradio.xyz. That's reallibertymedia.com. Check out our partner social media network. It's Freedom's Network. Check it out. Join up. It's a smaller Facebook type for interaction. And let me give you a couple of minutes to wrap up, Jose. Maybe. See? No? ¿Qué onda? ¿Qué onda, way? Jose. Did we lose you? I see you. Okay. Well, anyways, we'll get together and do it again. I believe Jose has dropped off. Anyways, hey, thanks again, everybody, for listening in, and for those that joined late. And if you didn't understand all this, maybe listen again. So we have a long list of chatters over here: Asmo, Barman, our bot, Beth, Grimner, the great and mighty, and creator of this network right here, Kate, Atomic Punk, Chalcedony, Chloe, Abidon, and he's at work, Java Doctor, Meister Brow, Sock Puppet. I'm here as Vin E. There's Clank, Colfax, Darth Rones, etc., Flash Droid, Frumpy, Grams is at work, Grendel, Judge Dredd, J. Dredd, Jehovah 1, Wanataco, Kuzu, Carl 1, there's the MM bot, Pawn Sauce, or Pone Sauce, there's a RLM Anon, Rob Works, Shiloh Lace, that's Lacey, Cheryl, that's Taco Bell, and then that just covered me up there, didn't it? Got a notification. And Tip Bob. So thanks, y'all. And we'll call her gone. Peace, y'all.